This is one of those times where you watch a film and you go, there ain't no way in hell this is a true story. But it was. What is up, guys, and welcome to my review of Roofman. This is the new comedy, crime, drama film starring Channing Tatum and Kirsten Dunst that is detailing the actual real-life crime spree of a man named Jeffrey Manchester. And this is a guy who in the late 90s robbed 45 different McDonald's restaurants using a modus operandi of cutting through the roof, which got him the whole title of Roofman, or the rooftop robber. He was notoriously known as being nice to all the people who were interviewed as witnesses, making sure that they had coats and everything like that whenever he put them in the freezer while he got away with all the money. He ended up going to prison, escaping in the mid-2000s, hiding out in a Toys R Us store for 6 months, all the while living a double life, having a full-on relationship with somebody, going to church and all of that. And that is only scratching the surface on how crazy the story of this guy actually is. And this is a movie that's been on my radar for a little while. Not something that I expected to necessarily blow the roof off, no pun intended, but it looked like a really fun and charming film that was probably going to be an enjoyable time at the movies. And I'm here to tell you, Roofman is one of my biggest surprises of 2025, because not only was I right on the money about how fun and charming this movie actually was, but I was totally taken off guard with how genuinely tense and how really emotional I got watching this story. Starting off with the positives, this is just one of those times where real life is stranger than fiction. You will watch this film and you will swear that events and details of this are being exaggerated and skewed, and at the end of the film, when the credits roll, they actually show you actual pictures and a bit of a documentary style retelling of certain things that happened. I've looked into it a little bit more, and while there's certainly details that were left out, him shifting from a Toys R Us to a Circuit City and things like that, at its heart, this movie stays totally true to the life of this guy from the late 90s into the mid 2000s. And it is just a absolutely wild story. And the movie is totally self-aware about how ridiculous of a story it is, because it really does play it for laughs. Like, you have a guy who's committing violent crimes, but it's playing it as, he's this nice guy that just kind of can't help himself and can't really figure out what to use his very obvious intellect for. And so he always just chooses the wrong thing. He always makes the wrong decisions. And he ends up in this situation that is just absolutely ridiculous. And yet you cannot turn away from it. I mean, having Channing Tatum live inside of a Toys R Us and surviving off of baby food and peanut M&Ms and washing his ass in the sink and everything like that, it's fucking comedy gold. And Channing Tatum plays this character so well. I genuinely think this is his best performance yet, or at least it's my favorite of his performances. It's so layered. There's so many different things going on here that he's really good at. It's got that charm. It's got that humor, that likability that he always brings, yet he's got that dramatic side of him. I mean, he has a wife and kids that he's distant from, that he's not allowed to contact, and there's some really gut-wrenching scenes with that. And you get really attached to his character, and despite the fact that he's absolutely definitively a bad guy, he's definitively a criminal who's doing all these terrible things and hurting a lot of people, whether he intends to or not, the movie really makes you root for him and be on his side and want things to turn out well for him because he's just so likable.
Intelligence unit here in Charlotte?
Oh, are you law enforcement?
Yes, I am.
Wow, that's amazing.
You have this whole element where he's hiding out and he's got these different monitors and security systems where he's starting to get a little bit of an attachment to some of the employees of the Toys R Us and seeing some of their struggles in life and their struggles in the workplace. And of course, Kirsten Dunst eventually comes into the picture because of that, who plays his love interest here. And their chemistry is amazing. They work so well with each other to where the part of the film that really starts to dive into their relationship, where they really start to fall in love with each other, I genuinely started to get tense and really emotional, where I actually teared up a couple of times in the back half of the film, knowing that this was ill-fated, like knowing there's zero chance that this balloon of lies that Channing Tatum's character is continuing to build is not going to pop at some point. And all of it is because you really love these two characters together and you want them to have that happy ending, even though there's no chance it's going to happen. And the film does a really good job with keeping that little human element in there, despite being such a zany and a very inherently comedic story, where you have Kirsten Dunst's daughters, you have, like I said, some of the employees, one in particular who's bullied by the manager at Toys R Us, and all of them kind of get this little payoff through Channing Tatum's interactions with them and his placement in their life. And so all of them, no matter how big or small their character arc or their side story is, you reach a point in the film where you feel like, oh, even though he's a bad guy, he's impacted their life in a positive way. There's something now that's better about them because of him, which again just leads you to want this guy to win, and you want this character to really walk off into the sunset. And so it's a very interesting movie where it's this very perfectly weird balance of kind of a little bit of a crime comedy film with a tearjerker romance drama, and the way that it balances the tones between them and shifts between them, it's just so effective. And I think there's a really good lesson at the heart of the film too, with its central theme, which goes back to that classic phrase of the road to hell is paved with good intentions. You got a guy here that, at least the way that he's portrayed, is genuinely at heart a good guy. Like, he wants to do good things, he cares about people, he doesn't want to hurt anybody, but he just can't help himself, and he can't help himself from taking shortcuts or doing something that's definitely risky and wrong, and people inevitably are going to get caught in the crossfire of that, and people even just in the side of him having consequences for his actions are going to suffer watching him suffer. And so I think there's a really good thing to take away from this, which there's plenty of us out there, and we all know somebody like this that at their heart is a good person, but just can't get out of their own way, can't stop making bad decisions. And this movie really gives you a very real life example of how bad that can go despite how well your intentions are. Film also has a great side cast here. I mean, you got Ben Mendelsohn here as the pastor of this church that Channing Tatum gets involved with. You've got Peter Dinklage as the dickhead manager of Toys R Us, and he's hilarious, especially the couple of scenes that he has where he has to unknowingly interact with Channing Tatum, and he's always awesome, honestly, but he gets a really good sense of humor with his character in this film that I enjoyed. You got Juno Temple, Lakeith Stanfield as a guy who's like an old army buddy of Channing Tatum who's trying to help him get out of the situation. And you got to give huge kudos to the director and co-writer Derek Cianfrance. Now, this is a guy who's done a lot of really well acclaimed movies: Blue Valentine, Place Beyond the Pines, a couple others that I haven't seen. Sound of Metal, I think, even won a couple of Oscars or was at least nominated. And I think he just did such a wonderful job at taking this story and really finding the heart at the center of it and having this tonal balance that is very difficult to have, where the movie is kind of a bit of a screwball comedy to a certain degree, and you have this very likable lead, and you definitely have to tailor the story and tailor the screenplay to fit his strengths as an actor, and they absolutely do that, but it has to sneak up on you, and it has to make sure that it has those real life events and has the tragedy and has all of those emotional elements in there too, without really feeling like tonal whiplash. And at no point did it feel awkward that I was laughing at this story and then hit with something emotional. At no point did I start to get sad and then get frustrated that I just wanted to laugh at this film. I really think that they hit all the different marks that you can go for with this story, and they did it so well. And the last thing that I'll say in the positives is I do think this is going to be a really rewatchable film for me and probably my family. I can see my wife really enjoying this one. Like I said, it's got that feel-good element to it, where this is a film that you'll just throw on to have a good time with, but it hits you in the emotions in there too, so you're actually feeling something while just kind of enjoying the story as it is. So I highly enjoyed this one. This is a movie that I did not expect to be as great of an experience as it was, but it's genuinely one of my favorite films of the year thus far, and certainly one of the films this year that I can see myself revisiting most often. As far as negatives, I only have two, and of course this is a film that is beholden to the true story, so I don't know, like, if it was just impossible to give me this because it doesn't fit what actually happened. It's a movie, so there's certain expectations that I have at the end of the day about story payoff and character payoff that kind of transcends how real life tends to go. So I'm not sure, but nonetheless, there's two things. One is that for how strong the movie is with its central theme about good intentions and still inevitably hurting people if you're doing bad things, I wish that the character of Jeffrey Manchester got a little bit more of a reality check by the end of the film by the people who are pursuing him. Like, you have these recurring characters who are these police officers that are looking for him for months. And at no point does he ever really get a sense of a confrontation with them where they kind of give him that reality check of like, you're not a good guy. You're not a nice guy. Yeah, all these people say you're wonderful and they say you're a sweet guy that gives them coats and you are wonderful in this church and they're going to come visit you in prison and all that kind of stuff. But you're not a good guy. You need to understand that. Like, I think there could have been a scene in the movie that wouldn't have made it too much of a downer, but would have given that reality check that I think that the character in the movie needed. I don't think there was quite enough there for him to fully learn his lesson by the end of the story. And the only other thing, which probably just comes from my emotions as a father, is I wish that there was a little bit more of an integration of his emotions and his feelings towards his actual family, the ones that he's not allowed to contact. You know, he kind of has this surrogate family with Kirsten Dunst and her daughters, and I felt like there was going to be a point in the story where they very deliberately show that he's kind of trying to mask his pain about his family by integrating with them, and it never quite got there. It was always fun, it was always enjoyable and sweet, but I needed like one extra little element there where he very clearly is trying to fill a void with these people, and that's why he gets so attached to them. And so after the first act of the film, his actual real-life kids, his daughter and his two sons, kind of become this forgotten piece and this afterthought as far as the character is presented. I feel like it should have been more of a recurring theme with him, just mentally and emotionally as a character. I only needed 1 or 2 moments to show that, but I think it was important to have it there, and they just didn't. Overall, guys, I really loved this movie. It was a genuine surprise. I think that everybody who wants to go see a feel-good movie and have a good time should go check it out this weekend. You know, Tron is going to be obviously the big flashy movie, but this is the one that was so much more rewarding for me, and I genuinely think it's Channing Tatum's best performance yet, so huge kudos to him. Can't wait to see what he does next. Roofman, one of my favorite and biggest surprises of the year so far. Well, that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed that, click over here for all of my 2025 new release reviews. I'm also going to put a tier list up here I did not too long ago, ranking a bunch of classic movie monsters, so check that out if you like horror films. Like, share, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss everything in the future. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.